I'd like to recognize the Secretary of State of Maine, Secretary Matt Dunlap, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I apologize I don't have any prepared remarks, so I'll try to keep it within the 45-minute allotment. Our experience in Maine is really been a truly gracious one, and we are very, very blessed to have the commitment of so many incredibly devoted and dedicated people across the state in the 503 towns and 425 unorganized territories of the state of Maine. An area from Fort Kent to Kittery and from Aquasic to Eastport, the people that I work with in elections, I'm the chief elections officer of the state of Maine, but the actual election is run by those local town officials who put an extraordinary amount of effort to make sure that their neighbors can freely and fairly exercise their constitutional franchise of democratic self-governance. And we owe them a great deal, and we have a great deal to be proud of. We too get questions from time to time about something that happens in an election. We get a few hundred allegations of possible double voting. But because our clerks work very closely with each other and we communicate with each other, typically what happens is someone requests an absentee ballot and they may forget about it or lose it in a pile of seed catalogs, and then they show up at the polls and we were able to divine pretty quickly that in fact they only cast one ballot and then the question is answered. But accountability is pretty important here, and I think that's the entire purpose of this commission, is to help bolster and instill confidence in the electoral process that belongs to the American people. And I hope that in those considerations, one of the things we focus on is what works well. What do we do right? And certainly, I listen very closely to the remarks of the president, but no one who's spoken, including the president, has questioned the legitimacy of the outcome of the 2016 election. And I think that's a great place to start from. Is what are the balance points between security and access? And I think that anything that we do to answer those questions, to reassure people that there are no goblins under the bed, and if there are, we deal with them in a way that is balanced, again, towards access of the voting public to participate in their government. This is not ours. It belongs to them. And I think as we move forward, the one thing that I want to focus on, and I tell our clerks this when we do our trainings every year, is that this is a process that does not belong to us. It belongs to the voters. And everything we do, we must do with devotion to assure that the voters have their voice heard, and that the ballots that are cast are done without question, and that the government that is installed to represent those people acts on their behalf with the confidence of the public. And I want to make sure that we answer those questions and that we move forward as a group with that same level of confidence. And I'll be very pleased to be a part of this. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you for those very thoughtful words, without notes and with great brevity, I might add.